I'm Mel Stewart, and this is the SwimSwam Podcast. Joining me today, we have Eva Fabian, an American Israeli open water world champion, and we have Yakov Toumarkin, an Israeli Olympian and backstroke specialist. We asked him to join us in the aftermath of the brutal attack by Hamas on Israel, October 7th. Over 3,000 rockets were launched from Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip into Israel. 2,500 breached the Gaza-Israeli barrier, attacking civilians. Nearly 1,500 Israelis were killed. We think 150 have been taken hostage. 30 of U.S. citizens have died in this attack. The U.S. State Department designated Hamas a terrorist organization in 1997. Most Western democracies have as well. Today, I'm sharing my opinions. They are my own. Eva, Yakov, in the fog of war, there's a lot of disagreements and misinformation. I invite you now to disagree or counter with anything I've said before we start this conversation.
I think there's some statistic, like unfortunately there's like more numbers of Israeli dead. It's 1,400 already. And bomb, like the rockets, it's already 6,000, 3,000. And the hostage is, yesterday it was 203, and today it's 210.
Yeah.
I'm 54 years old. I'm an Olympian. I've traveled the world, and it's from my parents were boomers, so they understood the creation of the nation of Israel. They understood the Holocaust. I'm Gen X. I'm a child of a boomer, so I'm very, very close to this history and understand the entire point of it. And this has been. This is just the oxygen that I've been breathing my entire life. When this attack happened, I noticed something very, very interesting happening, which was that that Hamas was. New York Times, Washington Post, BBC, major media were calling them militants and not terrorists. And I think 10 to 15 years ago, the reports would have been completely different. The reports would have been Hamas, the terrorist organization, has attacked. And that slight change was very surprising to me, and I didn't understand it. And I had to go in and research it. Are you familiar with that this has happened in a lot of major media, and that they changed that they reported differently?
Yes. Eva, you want to answer, or me?
Sure, we can answer together. Yeah. We're definitely aware. There is a major difference between how we experience events and see the news versus how in a lot of events some major media outlets have covered this. The example of the fact that the BBC is still refusing to use the term terrorist is something that they say is their own internal policy, but terminology is important. There's also been a lot of misreporting of facts. And to see that is very difficult from our side.
I think one more thing. I think even you can see, like, from the last day, there was attacking like at the hospital in Gaza. In the beginning, like the BBC, especially the BBC, they was saying, like, the first article, like the first page was Israel attack hospital. 20 hours later it was maybe a mistake. There was murder, and then it was killed. And only eventually, after more than 48 hours, after Israel in the beginning said it was like their mistake, and the U.S. government and all the intelligence, British and U.S. and the Israel said it was like their
French
rockets. That was like a mistake. And only eventually the BBC said it was a false alarm, and innocent people was killing the hospital. So we're very aware of the social and the website and all the reports. Are like, it seems like a little bit we feel like there's a different rules when it's about Israel.
Correct. In terms of checking facts before publishing in a very major international news outlet, to publish something before you're sure that it is fact is a disgrace, quite frankly, for journalism. And to publish something that is so like important and can be so incredibly scary and actually like emotional. To publish a headline like this without having confirmed anything is irresponsible and has proved dangerous to Jewish communities around the world, as well as now, you know, Americans around the world. So, you know, there are big repercussions for covering news this way, with, you know, releasing fake news, not checking facts. And there are real actual repercussions for this. And we see it. And what we see is a lot of attention to this at first, when, you know, they don't have the facts and they're, you know, at first saying that Israel has launched this missile. And when they have to walk back on that, suddenly there's so much less reporting, not an official apology really from many of these news sources that we would consider actually correcting the mistake. Didn't release anything that says correction this. They've just walked it back without saying anything about it. So this is it's big, and it's, I think, representative of a bigger issue in how everything is being portrayed right now.
We need to put something into context, and that is that in terms of Israelis killed, this is if you look at it proportionally per capita, this is far worse than 9/11 for the United, you know, if you're looking at it through the U.S. lens, and this is the worst. I'm pretty sure this is accurate. This is the worst situation in terms of death since the Holocaust, and that's a big threat. And also, before we came on, I should just go ahead and say, and I wish we'd had this during the recording, but you said, you know, this might be disrupted because of rockets and alarms, because you're on Israeli soil. So everyone has to take that into account. Life is much different when you're sitting there and your life is threatened. Just as a baseline, do you feel safe where you're sitting now talking to me?
Not really. I mean, not really.
It's
already 2 weeks, and it starts from October 7th. And every move we're doing, you're thinking about, okay, where's the shelter? And every move you're doing, you're thinking, okay, there's a safe now. There's gonna be alarm. And I'm also a parent. I have 3 kids, like young kids, girls. And I don't have school for them. I don't have kindergarten for them, and they all day at home. And they, like, the point was, in Israel, I didn't want them to realize there's alarms and they need to feel safe or feel scary. And now they understand. Can tell you a small story. Like, twice it happened. We went to the, like, literally a garden, like minute from my house, under the house, and it was twice catches the alarm, and you see how the kids scary and running to the building, to the shelter, and they have nightmares. I mean, they understand this. Like 3 years old, 5 years old, and the youngest one is 6 months. And for parents, I think it's a different perspective, and you wanna keep them safe. But now it's really, not only in Israel, but I think worldwide, it's a very dangerous time to live.
I agree. And I also think that, you know, going back to what we were saying before a little bit about speaking about media and the effect there, there's been a lot of claims, a lot on social media, but a lot online, that some of the facts and information about the absolute atrocities that happened in southern Israel that Hamas committed, there's been a lot of claims that those aren't real, but they live streamed them. And, you know, not only this, but we have taken, like, there's been a lot of extra care taken to speak to survivors, to bring the foreign press in when they doubted things. And so I think when we're looking at this as, you know, what are people getting from the news? Even sometimes when they are getting facts, there are, you know, conspiracies online, which is a propaganda tool, telling people that what the Israelis are putting out is fake news, so much so that the world media had to come and confirm it. So I think it's important also to say that we're going through these things where, you know, Yakov, with your children, it's such a difficult time. And then to have a lot of the outside world saying, well, prove to us that it is, prove that it happened. So I think that a lot of this, you know, the extra difficulty of what you were saying in the modern world of having so much connectivity and so much social media, that there is a lot of misinformation, there is a lot of propaganda. And so, I think one of the big battles that we have sort of as a world that threatens all of us is the spread of extremism online. So I think that can expect very much to what you were saying.
We need to remember also the problem is there are like 10 million civilians in Israel, and Gaza, and let's say the Arab who support Gaza, I mean, much, much more than 10 million.
It's I'm going to ask a very superficial question, and then we're going to come back to a more serious side of this topic. But I just have to know: is it if you are an Israeli elite athlete, are you training? Is your training disrupted, or is this something you can maintain? What's going on with your peers?
So for now on, the national team, we're training in the center, and it's more safe than here where we are now. So the training is still going on of course, with a different schedule and a different time and more strict. But I can say, like, with the international meet, we were supposed to be now in the World Cup in Budapest, and it got canceled from our government. Yes, not from like FINA or something, because they just say the Ministry of Sports of Israel said, okay, we don't allow any group of sports now traveling because it's very dangerous. I know you were a swimmer. I don't know if you met Israeli swimming in international meets. Every meet we have a security with us. I mean, beside it, now it's actually going on war. So always we have, like, since what happened in Munich in the Olympics in '72, the murder of the athletes. So since then we always have a security with us. So the next step, the topic is what we're gonna do in World Cup in Qatar in February. We have no clue, and like you say, if we feel safe, I'm not gonna feel safe over there.
For anybody listening right now, we did an 8-hour, SwimSwam did an 8-hour podcast with Mark Spitz, and I'll piece out the first of only 2 terrorist attacks in the entire Olympic history. That was, of course, 1972, the Munich Games. Mark Mark Spitz, who is Jewish, had a very unique point of view on what happened, and it was traumatic. Steven Spielberg covers this in a film. He talks in depth about the film, and after talking to Mark, and after you're talking about this now, what I took away from the film and the terrorist attack in '72, when the Israeli athletes were taken hostage and then killed, from the Olympic Village, Israel's response to that was just made me think, I can't believe anybody would attack Israel, because Israel is formidable. And I was like, this war feels so dumb. Someone said something, and this has been going around the internet, and this is not fake news. This is not mine, but it really seems to crystallize everything. There's 2 sides here. If one side put their weapons down, there would be peace. If Israel put their weapons down, they'll be pushed into the sea or they'll be killed.
This sentence said Golda Meir. There was a president of Israel in the Yom Kippur War, and it's really true. Unfortunately, I don't think they want a peace. I mean, unfortunately, again, I don't know if someone was looking at you, like not in Israel. Even if you're traveling, looking at you and saw an Israeli T-shirt, and they have like a lot of evil in their eyes on you. They don't even know you. They don't know what's your name, nothing, but just they don't want us here. I mean, it's a big conflict. It's not just about the war. They don't want us here. They don't want a peace with us. And the massacre they did, I mean, it's pronounced. I mean, who's kidnapping kids? Who's kidnapping handicaps? Older women and men.
Holocaust survivors.
Holocaust survivor. I mean, this is not even sorry, but to compare, but even the Nazis didn't do it.
I think it's also important to note that Hamas's charter, it's a terrorist organization. Peace is antithetical to what they're about. So when we refer to, Hamas being not a peace-seeking, entity. I think it is important to recognize that it is a terrorist group, and that is very much not their goal. They infiltrated into Israel, invaded, and committed atrocities, and that is exactly who they are, and is exactly what they say they are. And I do invite people to read the charter if they have not as well.
We'll include their charter in the show notes because it's something I probably should have included in the introduction. There is something that went, and I have to bring it up, of course, in this discussion, and I'll bring it up through the lens of the United States, so that more than half of our viewers will understand this, and probably most of the world. After 9/11, the United States went to war state to state. The United States got on a very strong war footing, and it resulted in the longest war in U.S. history. The numbers on the opposite side were rarely reported, but it was pretty brutal. In this instance, the deaths on the Palestinian side are being reported, and those numbers are changing. As the last time I checked, it was 3,700 killed in Gaza, another 1,000 under. This is from the UN. Another 1,000 under the rubble, and we have and more than 1 million Palestinians are going to be displaced. Do you disagree? Can you counter? Can you tell me, because there is an opposite side here. How do you respond to that?
So I want to say something about it. So I don't know, even again, people know before the Israel, first the aim of Israel, the IDF military is first Hamas, the terrorist organization. And people don't know, before even it's a war, even after the massacre they did to us and to our kids and women's, even then the pilots, we have something they call the knocking roof. So before they're attacking the building, they're dropping like a flyer, a paper that's saying, okay, this building, there's a organization, someone from organization from Hamas, we're going to attack this building. You have 10 or 15 minutes to evacuate the building. So even now in this war, we're still doing this. And only then we give them like the civilian to escape, and only then we attack. And the first thing now, the western part of Gaza, even now, the Israeli IDF said them, okay, we're going to attack here because there's a lot of tunnels, there are a lot of rocket launchings, stuff. So you need to evacuate to the south. It's more safe there for you. And what Hamas did, and there is a footage of from the sky, from the plane, there's a footage of Hamas cars, like big cars, like buses, stopping the people. They don't let them to go to the south. So this is all the truth. This is all you can see. Even the BBS that doesn't like us, they have this image, they have this photo. So even now it's war. So there's people say there's no rule in war. Even now we acting like the most the most nice country after what we did to us. And again, the social media and the newspaper again see different stuff, and it's like getting us crazy.
It should be said that one side attacks, and when the result is death, there is celebration. Israel's a democracy. Israel's a democracy.
Yeah, you get a footage of when they kill the civilians. Now they have a footage of celebrating.
So
they have fireworks, they have flags. Like it's a party.
It's confirmed. I'm just stating as a fact. This is confirmed,
yeah.
And it should be noted that Israel is a democracy. It is the democracy in the Middle East. It is it has been an economic powerhouse. It has Israel has flourished, and when Israel attacks, there's not celebration. There's it's solemn. And that's something that people don't talk about. What's really odd is that it's when all of this is happening, I know the story beats that are coming. I know this, but I'm Generation X, but I see millennials and Gen Z only focused on, they're like, look, there's a humanitarian crisis going on. And my first thought is, well, I thought about this as soon as the attack happened, because I was like, when Hamas attacked, they didn't attack to do what they did. They attacked because they knew that Israel would come back with an incredible force. And that was the point of it. The whole point of it was to get everyone to not think about anything else except their response. to engender sympathy for the other side. And that's been going on for a long time. Is that inaccurate? Do you disagree with that?
I would just like to say that it's very horrifying and difficult for us as well, because we want peace in the region, and everything that Israel has done diplomatically and has always been to create as many normalization agreements as we can, to have peace with as many countries as we can. And this is all we want. We do not want to live like this. We do not want this to happen to people. We do not want people to suffer. I think this is the most important thing to note. And it's one of the more painful things to see the region turned into a Hunger Games like football match in the Western media. And I think it's important to return to the issue that we have in hand, the crisis that we have at hand, to return to the fact that this was an obscene terrorist attack. And that because of this, we're in a unbelievably difficult, sad moment. And all that we want for our area and our region and our country is peace. And I think that's gets lost quite often in the conversation, and for everyone.
It does. There's something that I want to bring up, and just we have successful Arab swimmers, and they train in the United States, and they're Ahmed Hafnawi, the Olympic champion, who's now at Indiana, and the Notre Dame sprinter who won the ACC championships, and he just popped off a fast 50 butterfly. Abdullah Rahman Ellerby? Yeah, they've been very vocal, and they've been very vocal for the opposite side, and they've been let's just say that we're aware they had death threats against them, and we reported on that at SwimSwam, and when we did, we were told that we were lying and this wasn't true, and that this didn't happen, and we confirmed it. We also confirmed that there was a lot of pressure on the two universities that allowed that where they're training, that there was pressure on these universities to discipline them, or even go as far as remove any financial support if there was any. This was the way it was coming in, and everything pointed to that. How do you feel about these elite Arab swimmers being vocal on social media? And I'm sure you saw it. I just I'm teeing it up. What are your feelings on that?
We saw that. Of course, we saw that, and the first thing we did, like the Israel Association, I know, wrote a letter to the LEN and FINA about it, because I don't think, especially elite swimmer, that we wanna. There is a value of swimmers, of elite swimmer, to teach the young kids, the people look at you as a model, and you can write something on social media when you have a lot of influence, and without any message of condemnation about what happened. I mean, there was a massacre, there was a killing, and without saying anything about the Hamas or Gaza, and the people got kidnapped and killed and murdered, and baby was born, and you don't say anything about this. You just say against Israel. And yeah, I'm agree with the university. And one of them was a roommate with the Israeli swimmer. And the Israeli swimmer said they was buddies. They were okay. Yeah, he's from Egypt and they were okay. But now you see the truth. Now you see really what they think about us. And I want to say another thing. When he was now, let's say, even the Egyptian country, they was supporting Gaza. They don't want them. I don't know if they won't know this, but the civilian that want to escape from Gaza, they have a border with Egypt, and Egypt government don't allow this. They close it. They said we don't want them. So if you don't want them, you support them. So where they should go? If you don't want them, and again, as the athlete, when we see this on a social media, again, you can support violence, you can support killing, you can support kidnapping, and it's just frustrating that yeah, even if FINA on the university doesn't rule with an action, punishment even, or something like a message, okay, I didn't know all the truth, I didn't know the facts, like respond for this. So it's really sad that they see it like this.
I think it's important to focus on also, sports and values of sport being, trying to reach above political differences, trying to reach above differences, and to meet people from around the world and bring the world together. To me, this is the beauty of sport. It always has been. Is the way that we've transformed the sport world is to bring people together from everywhere and to compete with respect for one another as human beings. And I think that, to me, has always been at its heart the most important message of sport. So I do think it's disappointing not to see from the sports organizations a strong statement about condemning the horrific violence. I think that this is something that runs pretty counter to the values of sport, bringing people together in humanity, like to reach to something better for all of us. So I think for me, disappointing not to see something from sports organizations in support of, Israeli athletes and the Israeli people. To me, that is something that I think is their responsibility, is to promote the values of acceptance and respect. And so I think it's disappointing not to see a response from World Aquatics or something stronger from Len.
Sometimes the silence of our swimmer friends or swimmer athletes is worse than the words of our enemies. So even if you sometimes silence is you choosing side.
I'm going to put it out there. This podcast where I'm sharing my opinion, but I'm going to share something that I've experienced. It's and this is because everyone on earth is talking about this. This has touched all of our lives. When this happened, I couldn't sleep. This bothered me. I'm like, this is going to be worse. This potentially could be worse than Russia's war on Ukraine. This could mushroom and spread, and it's the whole world. That's my perspective from being on this earth over 50 years. When doors are closed and people start talking about the nuances of it, there's two sides, and they're talking, and the conversation comes up. It's like, there's a lot of Israeli settlements pushing into the West Bank. They're pushing into Gaza, and this has been.
I will stop you there. That there is no Israeli presence in Gaza and has not been since Israel withdrew.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's so that is, but that's this is what's said, and it's and that life could be better for those in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank. At the same time, you also hear that it's that there's a lot of humanitarian, not a nonprofit supporting Gaza and the West Bank, and we've had elite athletes, leveraging the support of these nonprofits, and this has been going on for a decade. This has been going on a long time, and we hear from our Jewish friends or our Israeli friends, it's like, yes, if all the money actually went to Palestinians in those parts of the world, there would be a crown jewel of the Middle East. It would be Dubai, but it's not. It's going for
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuanced conversations going on. I wanted to hear your opinion on that, and thank you, Eva, for correcting me.
Yeah, even the money they got, the charity money that like the European Union give to Gaza, or even the Qatar money, everything got in with the proof of Israel. Like if we didn't want them to get any money, we could stop it. But all the money they got is with the proof of Israel, and they got a lot of support. And again, unfortunately, the money don't go to food, doesn't go to education. They don't go to children of sports or swimming. Everyone know, again, who's ruling Gaza. It's Hamas. So you can see the rockets, they keep going. they have more and more and more, and this costs money. And how they get the money. So it's really simple math.
It's when this happened, October 7th, everyone had an entire narrative in their head if they were of a certain age. And the first thing they thought of was, this is Iran. Iran has been backing Hezbollah and supporting Hamas. And there was a long period of time where it seems like major media was and the U.S. State Department and DOD, they weren't really responding with anything official. They're like, we can't prove it. But it's if you're on Israeli soil, is when bombs go off and you're seeing the bodies pile up, was this the same thought? Do you think this immediately?
I think we're thinking more about, we're in an unbelievable, horrific national tragedy. And I think a lot of our focus right now is on the fact that there are 210, now to our count, hostages still being held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. And I think that a lot of what we're thinking, and I feel that there's a lot of intellectualization going on, and I think a lot of people aren't really thinking of how to actually, like, solutions and how to move forward. I think there's a lot of just I'll say it again, sort of political footballing going on, whereas what's happened here is an atrocity, and people have lost friends, sisters, brothers, family members, loved ones. And I think that is very much where we're operating from on a daily basis, is trying to keep up with the incredible sadness and trauma, but also to support each other and to try to be there for each other in this time. And I think one of the great examples with what sport can do, and Yakov, you can talk about this, is that athletes have been going to hospitals and going to kids who have been displaced from the South to go run practices for them, to be with them, to bring a sense of normalcy to their lives. And I think this is something where I think sport can come in and again bring what it should to the world, which is positivity and bringing people together and respect.
A question for you, Mel. I don't know, like, you're 50 something. Did you hear in your entire life alarm of bombing your country, your home?
The only time I've never heard it. I got a phone call the morning of 9/11. It was my father-in-law, and he said, get my daughter and get my grandbaby and get in the car and go. I was in Los Angeles, and he says, we're at war. And I got him in the car because we thought they hit Manhattan, and the thought was they would hit, Los Angeles, San Francisco, the major cities. And that was I am aware of that feeling that I had for a very short window of time. And I thought about it before I had this conversation.
And we have this, like, every day in the center, we have it like multiple times, and you have 60 seconds to run or look at shelter. And this is our reality. Even when we swimming, we had times, when we swam, and there was alarms, and we were evacuate the pool and run to the shelter. So unfortunately, we live in Israel. Like, you had a car and you can drive, and the US is really big. And here we have nowhere to go. I mean, this is our country, and we live here. This is my family here, my kids here. I mean, we can't leave it. So we are here, and we live with this reality. And unfortunately, we're hearing the bombs, and there's nothing we can do. And there's, like, above us, there's the Iron Yamaha that, like, keep us safe. But again, there's everyone in Israel. This is our reality, and this is how we live here. But it doesn't supposed to be like this. It doesn't supposed to be at all. I mean, we want to live here peaceful. We want to live here without enemy that surround us all over Israel board. I mean, it's not just, like you said, Gaza. There's also, I mean, it's ongoing a small war also in Lebanon, in Hezbollah. I mean, in the south of Israel. And this is more scary. They supported by Iran, and the Middle East is very sensitive for any move now. So it's a big thing.
I appreciate you guys being here, and thank you so much. This is ongoing. This is an ongoing conflict, and if you would like to come back on, we'd like to hear from you, because I think that this is going to be, of course, evolving. Do you have any final thoughts?
The tough one. My final thoughts would be for everyone to remember that there are people living here. This is a region of people, just like a region of, like your region of the world. There are people here who want to live peacefully everywhere within this region. Unfortunately, there are also entities such as Hamas that run areas. But not to forget that throughout all the media circus and all of the, quite frankly, the misinformation and all of the propaganda, there are people here. We want to live peacefully. We want to be able to live without, running from rockets 4 times a day. Or if you're, living in an area that has less than 20 or more. So I think that it's important to remember that you're speaking about people. And I think if there's one thing that, since we're speaking mostly to the sports world, that we can remember is that as athletes, we meet people from all over the world. And I think that's one of the most special things, Yakov, I'm sure you felt this as well, that as an athlete, I've met people from everywhere. And one of the things we always share is either a love for swimming or a love for competition or whatever it is. And that you see that there's so much to be learned. There's so much curiosity. There's so much to be learned from people around the world. And so I think remembering that these are people, this is not a place where you just get to jump in and throw your own, particular experience onto the reality here. And just to remember, as, speaking to the sports world, that, one of the biggest things that we try to uphold, is the value of respect for other people and to reach across borders. So remember there's people here.
Yeah, and I would add something small, that I feel like we are athletes. We all wanna swim. We are a role model for the young kids. They wanna achieve an Olympic medal, to be Olympian, to be world champion or European champion. And I think the bigger organization like FINA and LEN, in this situation, they do need to have a response. They do need to say something, because there was a massacre here and we didn't hear anything about it. And again, you know what? I think even there's supposed to be some rules and sanction about athletes who support murder, support terrorist organization, and to be a strict rule about it, like was with the war with Russia and Ukraine. I can say I have a friends from the judo, a combat sport. We know that a lot of time there was a country from the Middle East, they don't show up for the battle. And Iran, the country, there was punished for this from the IOC, and they don't allow to represent any more sports. They don't allow to compete anymore. And there's a lot of athletes who run away from Iran to represent a different country. So I think what they did, the Judo Federation or the IOC with this, they're supposed to be example for other nation sports. You cannot support as an athlete the Olympism values of peace, of healthy life, of a role model for young kids, and support this thing. It can't go like this. I mean, people can publish stuff on social media, and people now need to know there's more TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. There's a lot of influence about this. There's a lot of power to your word, what you're saying, what you share on Twitter, on Instagram. It can be false alarm. You're supposed to know the truth, and you're supposed to act by the rules.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam Podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam Podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.